Welcome to the asiatechpodcast. This is the Pitchdeck Asia, and I'm your host for today, Gustavo Leo. I'm joined by Vincent Maillard. Bonjour, Vincent.
Bonjour, Gustavo.
Did I pronounce it well?
Perfect. You're bilingual.
I tried to learn French many years back, and it's an ongoing struggle.
It's just a matter of practice.
Yeah, I do speak other languages, Latin languages, but French is one of the most difficult languages that I have to kind of maneuver.
For me, English is not easy.
Oh, you're perfect. We had a conversation before this, and you're totally perfect. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you and get to know a little bit. I'm always very excited when I have an AI related company, and in your case, you have a company that is very relevant to job seekers and hirer, right?
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to start off a little bit to understand your background. You mentioned that you had a consulting firm. And what was the consulting firm?
Actually, I was working for a consulting group which was specialized in human capital consulting. And my co-founder actually and I, we spent more than 15 years in a consulting group.
Oh, wow.
So doing headhunting and trying to match candidates with hiring managers. And that was our job. And I was leading the office in Singapore for 5 years.
And you were doing it by foot, like analog style?
We were doing these analysis, personality analysis, and search and personality analysis to do the right match between for the right job, actually. That was our mission.
And how were you doing that? Were you like collecting, was it based on conversation, or were you getting them to fill a form?
So based on conversation and also based on test and psychometric test.
Yeah. Wow.
So the candidates, and it's still the case now, they have to take about a 1 hour psychometric test to have a profiling, and this profiling is interpreted by a consultant to ensure the right match with a job to recommend for a position. Yeah.
So you were essentially going around and meeting people and essentially a typical headhunter job, getting people to, you get to know your candidates, and the candidates was essentially providing you with their background. So they will be matched. At the same time, that is the sort of the supply side, right? Then you've got the demand side, which is your customers, the ones that pay you.
Yeah. So like any headhunter, you need to fight and get your customers.
Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah.
How competitive is it? It is.
It's very, very competitive world, and you need to fight to get the candidates also, and then to find the right match. So we've been used to this kind of system, and we experienced that things could be done much better.
So where are some of the challenges that you found?
The big challenge is that first of all, it's very time-consuming. The business development is very time-consuming, but also the time to find candidates is time-consuming. And then you try to provide these candidates within a hiring process, which is often extremely complex, especially among large groups. You have lots of intermediaries, and you try to place candidates and to go through these intermediaries. So it's full of challenges and also biased, because the selection is done. I mean, the headhunter wants to push his candidates to get his fees.
Well, tell me about it. That gut, right? Essentially, a lot of the introduction, you've got that bias that you talked about, that incentive structure that kind of became, instead of just introducing people for a better future, it became this business model where we can take a commission and make money for every success. So then it doesn't matter whether the suitability, obviously suitability is important, but what matters more for the person that is the human that is actually making the introduction, is how much money can I make out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's been a trend which is a contingency trend in the headhunting business, which is a bit against the consultative approach of the traditional headhunting. So yes, it's true that we felt, and that's why I changed also, and I decided to create Blonk, is because I think that the traditional business of headhunting can be renewed drastically.
Using digital technology.
Digital technology, AI, and also new processes.
So when did it hit you?
Actually, It started when I was in my company. I was already working in high-tech. I was recruiting a lot in cybersecurity, in technology. And I had assignments, headhunting assignments, and one of them brought me to California. And in California, by chance, I met this guy who had founded Blonk. Okay. He was a Stanford student. And the week when I met this guy in a pizza place at Palo Alto railway station, the week I met him, he was decided to sell his company.
So, wow. What a coincidence.
That was a really incredible coincidence. And at almost the same time, I managed to raise fund.
So what was...
and to acquire.
So during that time, what was Blonk doing?
Blonk was doing kind of Tinder for jobs, so matching people with a set of jobs on a Tinder-like design application.
So that was the initial
idea, which was a great idea.
How was it? Was there any AI at all at the back, or was it just purely like sort of matching?
It was basic matching, tags, etc. It was very simple, but it was already efficient, and the design of the application was great. And I was seduced by the design and by the idea, which for me was striking, even though I knew very well this market. And with a friend, he was working in Singapore, and an investor, we decided to acquire.
And in fact, that UX UI is oftentimes never mind the back-end technology, the first sort of layers of getting investments, getting customers to validate your product, oftentimes relies on that UX UI, the sleekness and the design of how it is. And I think that's what you kind of caught UI.
And also our target is really the hiring manager. Our target is to match hiring manager with candidates. So the UI is extremely important. It has to be very simple, very technology transparent, and very engaging. So the Tinder style, like chat, like match chat, is extremely interesting for hiring managers. It makes the recruitment process quite entertaining.
Fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also captivating. I mean, look at how many single individuals out there are actually swiping left and swiping right. Go on a bus, go on the train. I mean, you can't do it while you're driving. But while you're in your bedroom, you're essentially swiping left and right, and you're deciding whether you want to get to know that person, right?
Yeah. And you can engage directly, chat, and meet. It's really an action-oriented application. It's really an application which is very different from our competitors that are mainly trying to serve better the HR structure. You have lots of back office application. You have lots of applications that are really serving a system which actually, I believe, is broken.
And how would you define it to be broken? Are we talking about is it a cost issue, efficiency issue, time issue?
It's first of all the cost issue. The cost of recruitment yearly is equivalent of the budget of the aerospace industry. It's close to $500 billion per year.
Oh my God,
So it's a very serious industry, very monetized. And it's so costly because it lacks a lot of efficiency. So the cost is an issue. The time spent is an issue. Average recruitment process is about 6 to 8 weeks, and sometimes up to 6 months, 1 year.
Oh, wow.
It happens very often.
And was that your area, the aerospace? Is that why you mentioned the area? Because I saw in your deck that you have the aerospace.
I like aeronautics. I was a pilot in the French army.
Interesting.
So I'm sensitive about it, but also I discovered also by chance that the number of the recruiting industry is the similar to the one of this industry.
I think across the board, I mean, the aerospace definitely, because of the amount of training required and the licenses and the type of life, especially if you're in commercial planes, right? The dependency on that security, that safety, that experience is extremely important. On the other hand, you've got all the sort of jet planes, those private plane charters. Those are where the ultra high net worth, they will have their private sort of pilot pilots, right? From that perspective, it's extremely in demand. But across the board, I think other industry, if you look at banks, if you look at the financial institutions, to hire top level executive, right? I've had so many chats with headhunters that are in that space where they try to connect very top-end executive, and they would always say, oh no, I don't think this would be disrupted because it requires so much of a human. And here you are, Blonk, looking at that layer specifically. And I think that definitely there is a lot of room for disruption in that space.
And actually, you're very right. And I think the field which remains to be disrupted is the people matching. And that's what we are targeting. You know, in recruitment, you have the job matching, which is matching a job requirement with a candidate. And that's quite well done. And it requires some matching algorithm, etc. And we have that. But the distinctive area that we have is that we're also doing the people matching, because recruiting people is not only matching their skills to requirements of the job, it's also matching people. It's a bit like love matching, actually.
Oh, it kind of is.
Very similar.
When you meet a candidate, you don't just marry them in the first... Like when you match on Tinder, you don't just marry them on day one.
Exactly. And what headhunters are saying, and what I'm still saying, is that recruitment is a matter of people matching. The problem is that automizing and disrupting this field is very difficult, and that's what we are looking at. And in the world, there are very few, and maybe we are the only one actually looking at people matching part for recruitment. So,
but how does it how does Blonk work? Because right now it's an app and it has some AI at the back end where it's analyzing all this data, right? And at the same time, so when a candidate comes on and a company is looking at somebody, two people, right? You've got the hiring manager and the candidate, or co-founders and co-founders. When they get matched, is there a human involved during the introduction? Is it 100% tech?
Actually, our system is 100% tech. The matching is fully automized. And the job matching part, as we were saying, is ensured by a matching algorithm, a first matching algorithm, which is a content-based matching algorithm, matching the requirements, like you want to work in Singapore, you match with jobs that are in Singapore, you know, this basic matching. That's the first step. Then there is a second matching algorithm, which is a machine learning algorithm, collaborative filtering, which learns from the swiping behaviors of candidate and the recruiter. Because the motivations of the candidate and the motivation of the recruiter may change during the recruitment process. And we capture that thanks to this algorithm. And then there is a third matching tool, which is the video and voice analysis of the profile of the candidate and the manager to analyze their personality profile. And this is the people matching part that we are tackling, that we're working on, which is very, very unique. And that's why the hiring, the headhunters and say that, it's a matter of people. And that's what we were tackling,
And it is kind of like a human sort of a headhunter in doing that introduction, right? I mean, what do we do as humans when we try to assess? We are all pattern matching in our head. We are looking at, do I understand that these particular candidates, does they come from there? And then I'm going to look at the other person. But we are doing it so slow and we can't capture all of the other data. But yet the machine, now you are not only using a lot of sort of the quantitative data, you're looking at the qualitative data from the biometric sort of recognition, the facial recognition, and the voice area as well, right? You're capturing that voice.
So it's an R&D program that we're doing together with Centrale Supélec, which is a French leading school and research center in France. We are owning the research. And it's, aiming at analyzing this data. Now, we do all that to promote meetings, because we are not trying to replace meetings. Of course, recruitment remains a matter of matching people.
Of course.
But since we're targeting hiring managers, we want that they have only great experience when they meet somebody. And we are going to do all the possible matching pre-selection so that they meet the right guys. And as you were rightly saying, when it's done by a human being, which can be a headhunter or an internal recruiter, the matching part is full of biases. It's not. It's biases.
It's
that
based
are
on gut.
Exactly, but guts that are guts of the recruiter and guts of the hiring and the headhunter.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we don't care about the guts. What we mean, we care about is the guts of the hiring manager.
Yeah. Of course.
So we want to get this matching as soon as possible, and to ensure that the experience is good, we do this pre-matching part, which is fully automized. Yes.
So based on that, what you just said is essentially, I mean, you from now onwards, like since you're collecting all this data and you're converting the qualitative into quantitative, right? Including all the facial and the voice and everything. So if you put two people together and something goes wrong, right? In the past, they were just like calling the headhunter and they would be like, I didn't like the candidate. I don't know why you put me in front of them. And they'd be like, but then 1,000 things could have happened. It could have been like, while getting to that meeting, they were hit by every single red light. And so when they got there, they were in a bit of a pissy mood, right? Or it could also be like they just had a very bad hair day, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. But now that you have everything sort of recorded and the data is in the system, you can go back and say, I get that you didn't have a good meeting, but look, based on these reasons, that is why we think you are a great match.
That's very true, but there is a second part, which is also the process. We involved the hiring manager very, very early in the process. So the hiring manager is part of the decision making very early. So is not in the mindset of blaming.
Yeah.
As it is often the case, any headhunter knows that. Yeah, there is a wrong recruitment. We blame you because you chose the wrong guy. No, the hiring manager is part of the process, is involved. Now, we are monitoring the performance of our selection. And it's true that after the trial period, we are going back to the hiring manager and say, how is it going? Yeah. And up to now, we have 97% success rate, so which is a normal success rate in a very structured company is about 70%. Yeah. So we reached 97%, which is quite exceptional. And we want to maintain this very high level of performance. But for sure, we have this follow-up because our objective is that the hiring manager and the candidate are performing together on the long run.
Well, I also think since you're already collecting data just for the initial sort of matchmaking process, right? How hard it is to in your future phases where in the scalability front to essentially be able to give the not just hiring manager but like the HR department some of the preferences, things that they wouldn't even know. And we often talk about when we are advising business founders, what do you do to incentivize your staff to stay with you and join you beyond the dollar sign, right? Because there's a lot of people motivated by money, but there's also a lot of people that are not motivated by money. They're motivated by other stuff. And I think AI, if anybody can do that, would be sort of a big data system that will be able to keep track of all of this.
Actually, behind all this work of matching together a hiring manager with a candidate very early, we want to place the hiring manager at the center of the talent acquisition process in order to make him be even more responsible and be involved in the recruitment, because that is a guarantee for him to behave later on as a true manager. Actually, it's a development process. Yeah. And most of, we have lots of references in large groups like Capgemini, Siemens, that are transforming the talent acquisition process. And most of these top organizations are trying to place the hiring managers as early as possible. So that's a mega trend in talent acquisition world. And we are totally in the heart of this mega trend. So for scalability, we are quite confident that our vision is in line with this mega trend, and we're working with large groups that are international, so their needs is quite wide and global. So we believe we can scale thanks to our clients this way.
So being a headhunter yourself for so many years, what do you anticipate? I mean, I'm sure you've already deployed the product, right? And there are users already in the market. What is the pushback that you've received from the headhunters, and you being a headhunter yourself?
Actually, there is more curiosity. Okay. And from headhunters, and our clients are mainly corporates.
Okay.
So we don't interact all the time. I interact with them because I know them for quite a while. They are very curious and they are trying to see how they could integrate our services to their own job. Because there is something that we are not automizing, which is the consulting aspect, the really add value part of.
So now they can do more meaningful jobs with their, rather than sit there and look at like all the matrix and try to understand.
And same thing for the recruiters, the corporate recruiters. It's exactly the same. They've been told to be business partners for a long time ago. Now they can. And we give them the tools, the tools to become genuine business partners.
This is the classic example that I always bring up, right? If I went to my doctor, and is it realistic for me to expect my doctor to have all the latest results on like the cures, all of the latest sort of analysis strategies? No, but I would expect my doctor to empathize with my discoloration of my skin, to look at my face and see how much pain I am in. But I would hope my doctor to be assisted by something or somebody that would have all the latest cure and all the latest solution. And this is where I see Blonk plays very well. I don't think Blonk is necessarily a replacement for headhunters with anything. It's going to empower headhunters to do their jobs more meaningfully, because what they do is to serve their customers.
And as long as people are recruiting people, there will be need for this human touch. And we want to promote this, but this mechanic and very time-consuming job, which is done right now by headhunters and recruiter, we can now automate that, and we're doing it.
You also, I mean, something is interesting that Blonk, its approach in the matching strategy is more people to people rather than people to company. Could you explain that a little bit?
There is and that's from my experience. We have always the choice when we do a recruitment to try to find a right match between a candidate and a manager, or a candidate and an organization. Of course, it's quite tempting to try to find a right match with the organization, the values, but at the end of the day, it's really your direct manager that you're going to interact with, which is the key person. Sometimes there are two, but at least there is a human being behind the process. So we took the choice, the decision to focus on the people.
Okay. Do they get to, like, in terms of the people, is it always one person to one person, or could it be multiple people to one person?
So we integrate HR and we integrate multiple people in a collaborative tool to assist the hiring manager in the decision making. But the focal point and the decision maker remains the hiring manager. So we have collaborative tool, internal chat tools to share impressions. Why did you not select this guy? The HR can say, try to understand why this person has not been selected, and try to know. So you have collaborative, but at the end of the day, it's still the hiring manager, which is at the front seat.
Essentially the main person that have to be responsible for hiring.
And it's very rare. In most recruitment processes, you have a very lengthy pre-selection, and then the hiring manager arrives at the end. And very often, the hiring manager is disappointed, and then you have to restart the recruitment. That's why it's so costly and so frustrating for everybody, for the ones who did the pre-selection and for the manager himself. That's what is broken.
Absolutely.
And for years, it's been like that. And now it's really not sustainable anymore.
It was also, it is at the current system also very hard to scale, because you only have so much energy and so much time to really assess on around. And if the headhunter, on a human capacity funnels you just because they're incentivized both money, like 10 a day, then it's wasting your time as well.
So headhunters are interested in our system. It was not our primary target at the beginning, but yes, it's very valuable for them too.
Right. So I want to take a look just back at your deck, and we, looking at the app itself. I want to understand, because you bought the app, right? You bought the technology from somebody. How much of it has actually changed being sort of changed around? Because you were essentially captivated by the initial sort of design. Has it changed, or has it remained similar?
The core idea, which is the Tinder-like style, has been kept, and many other things have been created. So all the artificial intelligence part is, of course, new.
Yep.
There has also been this collaborative tool that I was talking about, which is totally new.
Yep.
And the video profiling, analysis of profiles, is new. And what is also quite new is the business model that we built, which is aiming at transforming the recruitment process at our clients.
Okay.
So we spent about the first year to re-engineer the platform, and also to build a sustainable model with a business model which is based on pay-per-hire and also subscription, which helps us gain revenue, cash right now. It didn't exist before. And that's why these students felt that, that was quite tough. And it was not like Tinder, a kind of viral system, because you were dealing with businesses. And businesses are often lagging behind, and they don't adopt change so quickly. Yep. So we rebuild the tool, the platform, we build the R&D, but we build also this business model to acquire clients.
It also says, I mean, on this slide, you're saying that it's a SaaS business model.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's because of the data that you're collecting.
Yes.
And essentially, that data will be of some value at some point in time where you'll be able to provide degrees, even if you don't do the matching. That data is already valuable because you are providing some sort of analytics to for the people that are looking to hire to understand what is out there, right?
And one of our defensibility on the market is the level of in-depth knowledge we have, the data we have about the users, and we protect it in a very rigorous way through the GDPR. It's the European regulation for data protection. Yep. So yes, we have a very high level of intimate understanding of the users, which was quite unique in this kind of app.
That is actually my next question, because obviously now with GDPR and all the data security, how do you guys treat that? Because data, whether it's digital or it's offline, it's data. So GDPR encompasses everything across the board. How has that impacted, or has it actually benefited your business?
I mean, we are very, it's my CTO also who is taking care of these security subjects, and we want to be at top level on this subject. So we are controlled and audited in France by external services to assess our rigorous. But it's an ongoing challenge because also the regulation is changing very, very fast and regularly, especially in France, which is extremely sensitive about the protection of the users and data users.
I think as cloud computing started becoming more of an application and an area where a lot of the sort of data is being stored, and for one time we're not storing information in our servers, right, off-chain servers. So that allowed a whole different layer of concern, as well as a whole different bunch of opportunities. And in this case, for example, for AI, right, it allowed the computational power to really manage large amount of data at a much more quantum computing speed process. Whereas on the sort of security and or confidentiality front, that was the major concern of why GDPR is sort of put in place. You guys coming from France, you will be hit directly by that.
For instance, we have French clients that want the data to be localized in Europe.
Okay.
It's part of the requirement.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of, does the app now sees a lot of sort of cross-border connections where people are trying to hire from outside their country?
So we are working with lots of MNCs and startups, but MNCs, yes, are immediately requiring us to do recruitments all over the place in theory, but we are focusing on Asia and Southeast Asia. So from Singapore, we are serving mainly countries like Indonesia, Thailand, and so our clients right now, even though they are multinational, they use us really mainly for Asia.
For Asia mainly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we want to grow our business in Southeast Asia.
Do you think there would be a need in the future to sort of translate that app, or is already translated?
It's very easy. We built it so that it's easy to translate. Now our clients are, as I said, they are English speakers, they are MNCs, and are mainly, we are recruiting people that are salaries between 70K Sing dollar up to 250, 300K Sing dollar. So most of them have to speak English and be very international savvy.
What is actually the executive level and above, right?
It's white collars, actually. It's our positioning. So yes, in the future we can localize, but right now it's still okay as it is in English.
Would you ever consider sort of going towards less of the sort of executive layer and sort of modify the technology to look at like the broader mass? Because I'm thinking like technology, the big power of using technology versus human is the ability to really scale, and that in terms of numbers, the people that can pay and want to save costs are essentially the mass, right?
Yeah, but the salaries I was talking about, is it addresses the early career.
Yes.
When you're in a Python developer, a data scientist, you quickly have a salary which is in the range I was talking about. So it's white collars, but even early career. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I want to refer back to your deck again, just to take a look at. With your business model right now is monthly subscription or annual subscription.
So both, it's pay per hire. So the digital, what we call the digital executive search, which is an from A to Z service for executive search, and we pay per when the candidate is hired.
Okay.
And we charge, when the candidate is hired. And the other model is subscription fees when there are multiple recruitments. And we pay, so it's monthly subscription depending on the volume of the recruitments.
Cool. You also have a huge team. According to this slide.
Huge and highly qualified.
Yeah.
Super highly qualified.
And you have a co-founder that is in Singapore, and then you and your CTO is in France.
Yes. And we have 3 web developers and 3 data scientists. And the other people, the 6 business developers, are really business developers that are experienced HR business developers that have built our profiles. So they are able to convey the message I was conveying. And
you also have to have people that are like out there talking to the businesses, looking for the candidates, right? How much marketing you go to market? How much of that hustle did you have to go through?
But what I discovered coming from headhunting industry, where we were mostly into business development, I was almost knocking at doors and things like that. It's really physical business development.
That was a sales role, right?
Very sales role.
Yeah.
Here we are in a business where marketing is a key aspect in our business, with means that are limited. We are still a startup. We don't have huge push strategy marketing, but we have a very strong strategy, pull marketing strategy. So we designed the application and we are still refining the application and the platform to generate the network effect, to generate virality, engagement, retention through means that are we are always being on. And my co-founder is really into this digital marketing field, and she's supporting extremely well on this subject.
And at what stage is the app right now? Because you mentioned there was still a lot of... you've passed beyond the beta stage and it's revenue generating.
We are making revenue. We are reaching profitability, break even. But now we need to go to the next stage, which is really the high growth stage. We made an effort to be able to sustain with our means. We didn't want to be dependent on raising fund for the sake of raising funds. Now we're looking for a genuine partner who will help us connect.
Open doors.
Exactly, and stay with us till the next round. So, and we want to be able to survive also with our own means. So that was tough to build. That's what we built. And so our stage is that, we have clients. We have 5,000 matches. We have 200 clients. We have a very significant international database and an application which is running. But we want to do millions and to transform the recruitment world, which is our main ambition.
And you mentioned that you are at this current point raising funds. At what round are you? What would be considered the current round, and how much is that?
It's typically seeds pre-series A, and we're looking at 1 million for 2019. And over the next 3 years, we're thinking about 6 million to raise 6 million
at a later stage, right?
Yes,
the series
yes,
A.
Yes.
Okay. And that 1 million would be essentially used for
Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Southeast Asia, marketing, R&D also improvements, and HR and recruiting.
Yeah,
because we need also to
and I also
apply our tools to ourselves.
Put your money where your mouth is. But essentially, that money will essentially allow you to really go out and reach out to the businesses, reach out to educate the platform, and essentially engage all of the sort of different regions across Asia where we speak so many languages, and different cultures.
Exactly, and so get candidates, acquire clients. And evangelizing, because we are very new. Very few people talk about recruitment as we do. So we need to evangelize. What I trust is that these, as we said at the beginning, the big HR trends are in our favor.
Yeah.
The big HR trends, which is automation, AI, but also this uncertainty is very unpredictable. So we need to bring tools that bring the hiring manager at the center of process, because we need agility, lots of agility in new recruitment processes, and bringing this hiring manager with simple tools in transforming the process is one solution.
Yeah, educating that education process, is going beyond sort of the product layer, right? That education process is where right now with the new raise will really help you sort of amplify across different parts of Asia. So this has been a fantastic chat and getting to know. I always love having people on the show that are working on AI, are passionate about, and have the subject expertise in those areas. I just have one more question before we end the show. So if our listeners want to reach out to you, because obviously on our platform we have investors, we've got people that are looking for positions, also strategic partnership, and you mentioned that you're looking for investors and strategic partners. How can they reach you?
So of course they can visit our website, which is blonk.co, blonk.co, and they can address me directly. My name is Vincent. My address vincent@blonk.co.
Fantastic. And this has been a fantastic time chatting with you about
Thanks, it was
AI.
a really great pleasure.
Time flies, isn't it?
It was very great, very nice.
Fantastic. Well, great. So, Vincent, I look forward to having you in the show in a couple of months' time.
Thanks.
Good luck on your race. And this is the Asia Tech Podcast. I'm Gustavo Leo, and thank you for listening.